A state of survival is a state driven by fear. Fear of losing something, and so we attach, we cling, and we internalize this, and we cling to mind, we cling to the self-image, mistaking that self-image for who we are. And that's a very sad story with a very sad ending. The thing about experience, especially if we are to experience things outside of us, even though we experience them internally, we confuse that experience, that sensation of whatever it is that we're experiencing with who we are. I will learn all that I have to learn, given that I'm paying attention to life as self, because self is life. Self is not the idea that I hold of myself, the things that I think of myself. You can fantasize all you like about you being a wonderful person, a kind-hearted person, a great person. But if your actions don't align to that conception, then it's futile. So why even bother conceptualizing what you can be instead of just being the thing? Now more than ever, I'm a proud and devoted student of life for many reasons, but one towers above all the rest. The fact that I came to realize that experience is actually the school of life, the extension of life. As the experiencer, experiencing life. And so all that comes within one's experience is that to teach one's self all one has to know about him or herself. And I don't know if whether it's by God's grace, but despite the reason, I am grateful for the fact that I never saw myself as someone who was knowledgeable enough to be, or to allow ego to drive his experience. And don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that ego is necessarily a bad thing. Ego is a very vital function. It's just that, function. Despite the misconception that we tend to come across within conventional reality, conventional living, that ego is a bad thing. You know, hey, that person is so headstrong, he has a big ego. There is no such. There's just a negative expression of ego, but essentially ego is a way to relate, to interact with reality, with this physical domain. I guess you could say ego, in its fundamental aspect, is mind. But of course, when you were not born with a negative ego. That's to say, a negative mind. You were conditioned, you were raised, you were taught certain things. You were exposed to certain things which ultimately accumulated and amounted to your current personality. And it's nobody's fault, really. And I can only imagine what it must be for a parent to raise a child. And there's this notion that people are not perfect, and perhaps it's due to such notions that we tend to fall short in certain fronts of existing, like being a parent, for instance. The point of experience, at least the way I've come to see it, is to just experience it. right? But of course, I didn't always see it this way. The thing about experience, especially if we are to experience things outside of us, even though we experience them internally, we confuse that experience, that sensation of whatever it is that we're experiencing with who we are. And in that way, we are condemned. We are led to mistake the experience for who we are, because we come to attach our sense of self to that particular experience. We don't experience things to let them go or to learn and release, but rather we experience and we hold on to experience, which again ties back to the way we were raised. For most of us, we were raised to be creatures of attachment. We are attached to just about anything. Hence, you hear people say things like, "This is my phone," and if I break that person's phone, it's basically like me breaking that person's face, because there sure will be retaliation, there will be ill will, there will be resentment, all because of a phone that was made by man. But because attachment runs so deep, we don't see it that way. We get lost in the actual experience of losing a phone. And this is just one example. There's so many things that we identify with. Just because you have access to something, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is you. Same applies to memory. Memory, which is the accumulation of experience. Just because it's there for you to access, should you need to access it, only for that purpose, not for you to identify with the memory, confusing the memory for who you are. And think of it this way. There's so many things that happen to us, and there's certain things that we identify with. And we identify with those things because they had the most traumatic effect on us. And so they tower, those experiences tower above the rest. And more often than not, the experiences which we tend to hold on to, the experiences which shape our personality, are often negative. And so we ought to find ourselves behaving or playing out negative patterns, even though this happens unconsciously, because we are often so neglectful of our own experience that we don't see when we need to address something within our own experience, and therefore get lost in the experience, and we prolong the experience longer than we need to, which defeats the whole point of experience again, which is to learn. Because experience, like I stated at the start of this video, is the school of life. Experience is the best teacher. And there's this notion of pain being the best teacher, or the greatest teacher, in fact. That's due to the fact that pain is very memorable. And if you don't identify with pain, you definitely ought to gain something from whatever painful experience that you might consider painful. It's in how we approach things. Because how you approach things is the experience, becomes your experience. You don't experience things independently, or rather should I say, things that you experienced are not experienced independently. all experience, as far as you are concerned, is tied to you. And so it's really sad when I see people having to wait for something outside of them to induce feelings of pleasure. Okay, let me just say positive feelings, or rather a positive experience, whether this being love or whether this is gratitude. You know, you have to wait for somebody to buy you something in order for you to feel grateful. And it's not that you are feeling grateful for that thing. It's not even about the thing. What matters is the experience of gratitude. Because despite the content of your reality, it all boils down to the experience within your own being. And so the content, in a sense, is irrelevant. You choose to make it relevant. And in doing so, we more often put more relevance on the content than the actual experience. And so we come to find ourselves in the content. You become the person who only gets grateful when there's something happening for you, or when something is done for you. You become the person who only feels love when there's someone buying something for you, of course. Because you might have this definition of love that when somebody loves me, they have to do 1, 2, 3, and if those standards are met, then you feel love. Not that you feel loved, but you feel love because to you, your permission slip to love is in the things that can be done to prove that you are loved. And that's only then do you feel that you are loved, which is a sad reality, because all experience, like I said, all things experienced are not experienced independently. They all depend on you as the experiencer. And so you can feel whatever it is that you often find or often experience in other things, independent of those things. You can just sit and feel love, the love of being. You can just sit and feel the purity of peace within you, because that's your, I don't want to say neutral state, but through neutrality, through experiencing life in a neutral, non-judgmental point, then you are more likely to experience the peace of reality, the peace of experience, and ultimately the peace of things. That's to say, you can find yourself experiencing peace within chaotic moments, within turmoil. And all of this depends on you as the experiencer. Of course, there's certain patterns that you might need to unlearn. There's certain things that you might have to let go, but you can only do so should you realize the reason that they were there in the first place. I mean, everything does happen for a reason, and we hear that quite often. It's just that we don't practice what we hear. We don't practice what we learn. And so we lose what we learn. Instead, we keep what we don't learn. Fucking ice cream truck. So loud. My bad. This will just take a moment. Where was I? Okay, we're talking experience. Damn, that motherfucker. So the point, again, is to learn to allow life to lead you. Because again, everything that comes within your experience is there for a reason. And the reason, like I said, is not to identify with whatever comes in, but to integrate the core purpose of that particular experience into your being, because all that you experience is experienced for the purpose of showing you who you are. It might take a heartbreak for you to realize the fact that you haven't really been exercising love within your own experience. Perhaps you give too much of yourself, and it might take people turning their backs on you in the moment, in your moment of need. Right? That's when you get to actually see that I constantly and consistently pour into these people, but when I need it, no one is there. And so you learn from that experience many things. In fact, you could learn boundaries. You could learn that you shouldn't overextend yourself. You could learn that you must prioritize pouring into yourself, because if you are empty, you cannot pour into anything anyways. And so the goal is to, it's not even a goal actually. I'd suggest that you make it a way of life. And who am I to suggest such a thing? I mean, who am I? I'm just a guy with a camera recording this for no reason, right? I don't think too highly of myself. I just have this intuitive knowing that life is meant to be lived for. So it's not about me, because the me which I consider as me is not really me anyways. So what's the point? Hence we have concepts such as self-image, how you see yourself, which doesn't make sense to me, because I mean, you literally cannot see yourself, because that's not the point of being. What you can do within your own experience is just to be, right? But because of concepts such as self-image, there also has to be a self-introspection. And so for everything that limits our capability, our capacity to be, our capacity to experience life, there has to be supporting concepts which accommodate that core concept, like self-image. And I'm not the one to say that this notion is wrong, the notion of self-image. If it works for other people, fine. But I know that I don't have to see myself. I just have to be myself. And I will learn that I will learn all that I have to learn, given that I'm paying attention to life as self, because self is life. Self is not the idea that I hold of myself, the things that I think of myself, because thoughts are not real. You can think whatever you want to think, but reality, unless you act on reality, will always be the same. You can fantasize all you like about you being a wonderful person, a kind-hearted person, a great person, but if your actions don't align to that conception, then it's futile. So why even bother conceptualizing what you can be instead of just being the thing? Be that person that you would like to see yourself as. But don't see the person, just be the person. That's at least the way I see it. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger. And if this works for you, then I'm happy for you. You don't have to take everything, though. You don't have to listen to me. That's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of this. This thing that we call life. I mean, we're already doing that anyways. But for most of us, because of how we were raised, the odds are already stacked against us. We are raised into limitation. We are raised as limitation. And so it becomes hard to unroot those outdated patterns of being, which ultimately amount to the self-image that we claim to, that we are attached to. We are often raised, for most of us, right? Not all of us, but most of us are often raised in environments which are rooted in scarcity. And so all we know is survival. And survival breeds attachment, because survival is a state of survival is a state driven by fear of losing something. And so we attach, we cling, and we internalize this, and we cling to mind, we cling to the self-image, mistaking that self-image for who we are. And that's a very sad story with a very sad ending. I don't want that for you, hence I'm making this video. And I'll keep making more videos, probably not indefinitely. I have other things to do, of course, but with this free time that I have, might as well